Hey, what's up, everybody? Welcome to this Thirsty Thursday edition of The Sweat. I am Emerson Lotzia. We got lots of baseball information coming up for you. We'll take a DFS look at tonight's slate. We'll take a sports betting look at tonight's slate. We also have one of the most highly anticipated Thursday night football showdowns on planet Earth in the history of the NFL. It's the Jacksonville Jaguars visiting the Bengals. That's right, two cats going at it. Well, what's that? What's that, Producer Drew? Look at the middle camera. I'm looking over here. This is supposed to be a professional turn here. Okay, that sounds good. Anywho, DFS sports betting look at Thursday night football. Also, Julian Edlow is here for some college football as well. But Great. We are going to go ahead. Let me allow everybody, since it is NFL season. It's week 4. We got another shot at $1 million right here on DraftKings. We're going to do it all season long. So this Sunday, big old fat Millie Maker. The contest has $4.25 million. That's the prize pool. And you could enter for just $20. $1 million to first place. That's why we call it a Millie Maker. Also, if you win that thing, you're going to get a big old fat ticket to DraftKings' Tournament of Champions live final in January. That is your opportunity to take another shot at $1 million. That's the top prize. So go check out this contest in the DK lobby right meow. We will bring in some of our experts to help you with those lineups in just a second. But first, we do have to touch a little bit on the baseball. And for that, we have DraftKings contributor Steve Buchanan. We have Gary and Thorne. This is the highest rated segment in this show's 3+ year history. This is called Put Up Your Bukes. This is when you agree or disagree, Gary, with Steve's picks. Now, last regular season here, Put Up Your Bukes. Steve's take, he has taken the lead. This season, we got 3-1. 3-1 in y'all's last matchup here. So let's see how this goes today. Favorite pitcher is who, Steve?
Yeah, look, we know who's taking the mound tonight for the Toronto Blue Jays. We know what's at stake tonight for the Toronto Blue Jays, and specifically Robbie Ray, but we're not going to touch on that because we want to win a lot of money on that. So we all know who to play. We all know the guy tonight, but let's give you an SP2. Let's do that instead, okay? Joe Ryan from the Minnesota Twins going up against the Detroit Tigers, a team that loves to strike out. How much do they like to strike out, you may ask me? Well, let me tell you, 25.6% K rate against righties. That is the second highest in the league. Joe Ryan has quickly ascended up the salary rankings because of how well he's pitched since being called up by the Twins, and as he was formerly with the Rays, a little bit of trade going on earlier this season. But he's been fantastic since getting up to the majors here. 12.5% swing and miss rate on the year in his prior 4 starts. He was up to 15.6 in the minors, which he pitched 57 innings for with the Rays earlier this season. Look, there's nothing you really need to worry about when it comes to the Tigers offense. They mailed it in really in the month of May. This is just like a formality now that they're just trying to wrap up the season. But at 9,300, I think Joe Ryan can absolutely bring back value on his salary against a very strikeout-prone Detroit Tigers offense.
All right, Gare Bear, put up your bukes, dude. You pushing back? You fighting back?
Well, I don't tie on this show. We've been over that many times.
Damn right.
So I will choose a different pitcher, and I will say about Joe Ryan, it's one of those weird slates tonight where because we've only got 9 games. Limited amount of starters to choose from, and a lot of the guys above 8K, there are just concerns about volume, and nothing Ryan has done would make me dislike him on this slate just from a purely statistical standpoint. And the matchup with the Tigers is great, but it's pretty clear the Twins are being careful with the guy who is now their number 1 pitching prospect. I don't think he throws more than 5 innings, so that's something to think about when it comes to Ryan, because it does limit his ceiling slightly. Someone on the complete opposite end of that spectrum. The Mets do not care about this guy because he's like 700 years old. He could pitch till his arm falls off tonight. Rich Hill. That's right. We are talking about Rich Hill.
Damn.
On the last day of September in a DFS baseball segment. Hill is just $7,000 tonight and draws probably the best possible matchup a left-handed pitcher could face. The Miami Marlins, who come into this game with a 684 OPS, a 284 WOBA, and a 27.8% strikeout rate against southpaw pitchers. All 3 of those, the worst mark in the National League within the split. Rich Hill has also been kind of sneaky good the past 6 weeks. His last 6 starts, he's got an ERA under 3, a 2.47 FIP, and a 28% strikeout rate. So as crazy as it sounds, I think Rich Hill might actually be the best dollar for dollar play on Thursday's slate.
41 years old, Rich Hill.
700 years old.
Correct.
Hey, Bukes, what are you thinking here for infielder? Your favorite infielder? Who is it going to be?
Yeah, sticking with that Twins and Tigers game, the Tigers are running out Tariq Skubal. I mean, I don't know what game he thinks he's playing, but like, you're not supposed to give up home runs. I think he thinks it's the other way around because he's given up 32 on the season. I mean, what are we doing here? That's a lot of home runs. I mean, that's more than some guys have hit, and they're playing every single day. Skubal has a 1.9 home run over 9 innings through 146 innings to go along with a 4.85 FIP. That puts Josh Donaldson in a fantastic spot here tonight. He just absolutely crushes left-handed pitching. That's something you all know. But a 281 isolated power, 382 WOBA, and a 144 WRC plus. He's only 4,400 tonight. You're not even really going to need to break the bank for this guy. But for somebody like Skubal, who just continues to give home run after home run after home run up every time he goes out on the mound, you got somebody with some of the best power numbers against lefties. Josh Donaldson, 4,400. That's an absolute lock for me tonight. It should be for you too as well.
Garion, is your former Blue Jay beefcake lock?
Oh, yeah.
Well, I can't use Josh Donaldson because I'm using Jose Ramirez, and you can only play one third baseman per lineup. Someone named Angel Zerpa is starting tonight for the Royals. I don't know who that is. That might be like a Sacha Baron Cohen character. He's only thrown 1.1 innings above Double-A in his career. 22-year-old rookie. It's probably not going to go that well because he didn't pitch that well at Double-A when really that was the majority of his 2021 season. So he's got to go up against Cleveland, specifically Jose Ramirez, who is $5,800, so pretty expensive. But since the beginning of August, Ramirez has just been his usual self. He's got an OPS around 950. He's got a 152 WRC plus, and really, very quietly and sort of under the radar, he's got 15 stolen bases since August 1st. That is the second most in all of baseball. So Ramirez is back to being that five-tool player. He's back to being that guy who can contribute in any single fantasy baseball category. Yes, he's expensive, but it's hard to think of a better matchup for him to draw on a particular slate. And right now, he's among the hottest hitters in baseball. So I'll go with Jose Ramirez.
All right, Bukes, you know where to go next, baby. Favorite outfielder. Oh, you're going with the frog hunter, aren't you?
Oh, yeah. I mean, look, this is somebody that you can attribute to being why the Red Sox are still in the hunt here. He's just been having an unbelievable second half of the season and gets the prime matchup tonight against Alexander Wells and the Orioles bullpen. Wells has just been a complete disaster every time he takes the mound. Doesn't go deep into games, gives up plenty of offense before he leaves, and then hands it over to arguably the worst bullpen in the league in the Baltimore Orioles. You look at the numbers that Hunter Renfroe has put up in the second half of the season. In 18 less games compared to the first half, he has 5 more home runs than he did in the first half with 17. He has more doubles. He has just the clutch ability of Hunter Renfroe. He just gets those hits, kind of like the Mariners. They don't hit a lot, but all they do is clutch hits, and that's why they're still in contention too as well. Shout out to Seattle. But Hunter Renfroe going up against that putrid pitching staff of the Orioles, the starters, the bullpen. There's nothing to not like here. Hunter Renfroe is absolutely locked into the plate. It's my favorite outfielder tonight.
Garion, what say you, bud?
I mean, I can't say anything negative about any Red Sox offensive asset on this slate. We all know about the Orioles. If you can afford 5 of them, put 5 of them in a lineup. It's probably going to work out pretty well for you. However, if you do want to take a different direction with your top-priced outfielder, George Springer is in a really nice spot tonight. He's $5,000. And really, Corey Kluber, I don't think anyone out there thinks Corey Kluber is like the Cy Young version of himself, but his numbers against right-handed batters in particular, something the Blue Jays have a lot of, by the way, are really bad. He's got a 5.35 FIP within the split. He's giving up a 359 WOBA to opposing right-handed batters, and all 8 home runs he's surrendered in 2021 have been against right-handed hitters. So someone like George Springer hitting a top of a very dangerous Blue Jays lineup, I think he's in a really nice spot tonight. And the key thing with Springer is he's actually starting to hit again. Maybe that knee is back up to not 100% health, but pretty close. Because after a very prolonged slump towards the middle of September, He's got 7 hits and 4 extra base hits in his last 4 games. So it seems like he's heating up. Again, batting leadoff. You've got 5 plate appearance potential tonight. I think he's a really good value play, even if he is $5,000.
Okay, well, speaking of value, Steve, who's your favorite value play tonight?
If you told me last season that you could get Eddie Rosario at under 3,500, I'd say you're absolutely crazy. But that continues to be the scenario with the Braves, and it's not like he's not hitting well. Just the price just hasn't caught up. You look at his numbers over the month of September: 390 WOBA, 315 isolated power, and a 142 WRC plus. He's been a really nice addition to the Braves, who are just absolutely in need of outfield help, and he's doing exactly what the Braves were hoping that he would do. Takes on Kyle Gibson tonight, who is in the midst of his worst month of the season on the mound. He's been tagged for 22 runs on 30 hits in just 27 and 2/3 innings. He's doing exactly what the Phillies didn't want him to do when they acquired him at the trade deadline. He's doing the absolute opposite. So 2 guys on completely different ends of the spectrum. If you're going to tell me you can get somebody with the power numbers that Rosario has had throughout the month of September at only 3,400, he's going to really allow you to fit some of the other high-priced bats in your lineup tonight. So give me that price all day.
Okay, what do you got, Garion?
Well, Steve and I both love cheap catchers. That is something we have in common. I'm going to go with Carson Kelly at $3,300 going up against Scott Kazmir, who somehow is not the oldest starting pitcher on this slate. Again, shout out to Rich Hill. Scott Kazmir, it's a great story. Don't get me wrong. Didn't throw a pitch in the majors since 2016. This will be his 5th appearance for a 104-win San Francisco Giants team. That's really cool, but he's got a 7.16 expected ERA. He's not thrown the ball well at the major league level, and I've been avoiding Kelly a little bit. He broke his wrist back in mid-June. We know that hand injuries really tend to zap the power of major league hitters, so he hasn't been the same guy since that wrist fracture. However, for the season as a whole against left-handed pitching, 300 isolated power and a 164 WRC plus against left-handed pitching. If you're punting at catcher tonight, you have to start with Carson Kelly.
Gentlemen, awesome work. Steve, how do you think he did? How do you think Garion did today, pushing back against you? He seems a little more brave than Nick Fryer.
I mean, anybody's braver than Nick Fryer. A piece of toast is braver than Nick Fryer. But you know what? I will say this right now. Garion and I are on the same team right now. We're pulling for Robbie Ray. I have no hate against Garion. We need a big pitching performance from Robbie Ray tonight so we can cash those tickets.
Dude, that taxes in you being a Robbie Ray stan, man. I absolutely love it. Follow these 2 on Twitter for more fun, people. We got best bets here coming up and DFS plays for tonight's Jags-Bengals game. But before we turn the page to Week 4, let's check in with Nick Eatman on the final Week 3 game. And let's get his thoughts on the Cowboys win on Monday night.
Fun time of the week. We get to talk about the Dallas Cowboys 2 in a row after a division win against Philadelphia with Nick Eatman, who does a great job covering the team, has for the last couple decades. I am Adam Kaufman, and Nick, with Jimmy Johnson in attendance, let's channel a man. And how about them Cowboys?
A great night all the way around. When you include that as well as Jimmy and Drew Pearson, Cliff Harris, honoring those guys with their Hall of Fame rings, but that was sandwiched, around that was just 2 really good halves of football. And the Cowboys, I thought it was a dominating win against a division rival. It's a little early to tell how good Philly's going to be, how good the Cowboys are going to be. But that typically these games are close, especially on Monday night. And I thought the Cowboys just kind of set the tone early. And, they were able to play the way of football that they want to. They've always wanted to with Zeke, and just run the ball, be aggressive, play downhill, and when it's time for Dak to make plays, he can do that. And his numbers were outstanding. Then on the flip side, defense, give up some yards, but take the ball away, score if you can do that. And I just thought it was just an all around a really good team win.
We'll get into some of the nitty-gritty, more specifics concerning a lot of those different areas. But I told you before the season even started, and not just because I do these with you weekly, I genuinely felt and feel this way. Dallas was my pick to win this division. So I'm not shocked that the Cowboys are playing well to start the year, but in terms of just how well-rounded they are, especially after last year when, there were a whole bunch of reasons why the club was not. Are you surprised the club has really, been such a complete performance to this point?
Not really surprised. I mean, I think we all thought that Dak was going to come in and really kind of take the offense, take the team to another level. We were seeing signs of it last year. And if Dak can come back, that'll help some of the other guys and the offensive linemen get that going again. And then with Dan Quinn on the defensive side of the ball, I mean, the goal was just be better, just be more competitive, take the ball away, and don't give up touchdowns, don't give up big plays all the time. So I think you're seeing just a combination of all of that. And they've had some injuries. They have suspension. They've got, COVID issues every week. But they're finding ways to kind of play around it. And I think it all starts with this offense. I really do. I think the offense is not only scoring points, but something that they were not doing last year was scoring early in games, getting off to a fast start. The last 2 games, they scored early. Kellen Moore's doing a great job calling plays and getting them ahead of the chains, getting them in the lead. And then from there, it's easier to play defense when you're doing that.
Dak was obviously incredibly efficient in that last game. 3 touchdown passes as well. He was good. He was very good in his first home game in basically an entire year because of obviously the injury very early last season. He's completed at least 80% of his passes back-to-back weeks. If you're talking about that happening frequently, it doesn't. You got to go back to Troy Aikman for the last time that happened for the Cowboys. So what do you attribute this efficiency to?
Well, I will say this. I mean, his average yard per game is not as high as a lot of guys in the league. So he's not chunking it down the field all the time. They're taking what the teams give them. I think what Kellen Moore's approach is, we aggressively take what they give us. You're seeing a lot of underneath passes, but I don't want to take anything away from him. He's throwing the ball well. When he has to throw it and fit it into a tight window, he's doing that. He's just playing smart football, and I think it works when you've got receivers that understand the process and they just want to win. We've seen a lot of receivers in the NFL, not a lot, some of them here in Dallas, but we've seen a lot of receivers that want their yards. And they're considered divas for it. They want the football at all costs. And so, Amari Cooper last night, I believe, Monday night, 3 catches, 24 yards. That if he's a top receiver in the league, you would want more. And fantasy owners obviously hate that. They don't want to hear this, but that's just the way it is. Dak is taking what they give him. If it's a Dalton Schultz game, it'll be Dalton Schultz. If it's going to be Cooper, if it's going to be CD or Gallup comes back. And I think when you do that and you're not worried about anybody's feelings, you can go and have a successful offense.
One time of the week we get to
Listen, I understand a Thursday night football matchup between the Bengals and the Jaguars doesn't necessarily scream must-see TV, but there is enough to look forward to. I don't know why we rolled that open. There is enough to look forward to from a daily fantasy football standpoint. Yeah, there are going to be home runs tonight in this showdown on DraftKings, and here to help us out, let's go. Jeff Ulrich, DraftKings contributor, Kenny Ducey, and RotoWire's AJ Scholes. Gentlemen, it is good to have you here today. I know everyone is super excited for this. So hook me up with your favorite DFS plays for this Jaguars-Bengals showdown. I will start with you, young Kenneth. Who was your pick for captain?
Yes. Oh, I'm so happy I'm going first, so that way these guys have to scramble. Because, yeah, the obvious pick here is Jamar Chase. You got no T. Higgins out there for Cincinnati. You got a terrible Jaguars secondary. Jamar Chase comes in at 15.3K, and he is the best captain option despite being the 4th most expensive captain. I think that you could also look at Joe Burrow here if you really wanted to. You really just penny pockets, or I don't know. There's some name that you could give people. But look, you have deep pockets and you want to pay for Joe Burrow. But I think that he should be going to Jamar Chase even more than normal. Chase is the 2nd on the team in targets, and I should continue to see more here. He's just done a really good job of catching deep balls this year. I think he finds the end zone again. But I think, either here or if you want to spend down and go to Tyler Boyd at 11.1, I mean, he is the target leader on the Bengals, so get even more. One of those 2 guys are a solid captain pick.
Yeah, Jeff, I know it's hard to push against like Jamar Chase. I know we mentioned it yesterday on the award-winning edition of the Slate on Wednesday night with Reed Fowler.
Yeah, no, it absolutely is. Look, and Kenny's, he's on the right track here, but I do think Tyler Boyd is a superior option. There's a big gap in price we're talking about here. It's not small. I mean, it's $4,000 between Boyd and Jamar Chase. And you're looking at a player in Tyler Boyd who leads the Bengals in targets. What has Jacksonville done bad? Well, they've done everything bad, quite frankly, but they've been bad against slot receivers. Christian Kirk, over 100 yards against them. Danny Amendola scored a touchdown against them in week 1. This is a really good matchup for Tyler Boyd. You've got Joe Burrow playing at a really efficient rate right now. Their O-line took a step up last week. I think you might see Boyd lead the Bengals in targets and potentially just all receiving categories here, as Jacksonville obviously very frightened about the speed and downfield ability of Jamar Chase. I think they probably let off the gas a little bit on Boyd. And I think from a DFS perspective, the big thing is here, again, it's so much cheaper to roster Boyd. He allows you so much more flexibility. I think he's the better play in the captain spot.
Yeah, only 11-1 in the captain spot. Again, anyone new to the program, it's 1.5 times the salary, but you get 1.5 times the points. AJ, who you paying up for?
Well, look, I agree with the Boyd pick here, but I'll give you another option, and that's Joe Mixon. A little bit more expensive, obviously, but you consider the Jags have allowed 28.8 fantasy points on DraftKings to running backs through the first 3 games. Mixon, for his part, has accounted for 83.8% of the Bengals' rush attempts as their lead back option. Clearly, he's the number one. Yeah, he's not a big factor in the passing game, but he is still 4th on the team in total targets, and that's without T. Higgins, who will be out again. So if you're looking for something other than Boyd, maybe take Joe Mixon as an option here.
One of the biggest storylines tonight is a battle of the last 2 number 1 overall picks here. Jeff, is Joe Burrow the guy you are stacking with your captain?
So yes, but Joe Burrow is also such an obvious play here that I'm going to talk about what you should do on the other side. If you captain Tyler Boyd, I really think you should get James Robinson in your lineup here. Robinson's carries have gone up in each of the first 3 games. Again, Jacksonville finding out very quickly that they don't really want Trevor Lawrence throwing 50 times a game because that leads to more interceptions. I think that theme is going to continue here. The Bengals defense has been good in all facets, but I think it's a little bit more attackable on the ground here. And James Robinson averaging 5.2 yards per carry. He's been the bright spot on that offense. He's going to continue to get work. He's also worked well as a receiver. He's 12 for 15 in terms of converting targets. His targets have been really, really consistent. James Robinson is the guy you need to get on your roster on the other side. Regardless if you go Chase or Boyd, James Robinson is the guy I would stack with your Cincinnati Bengal captain.
All right, AJ, how about you, dude? Who you stacking?
Yeah, I mean, look, Trevor Lawrence might be the obvious stack play here, but again, you have to look at what the Jags have done. They've been one of the worst teams against the pass here, giving up 23.5 fantasy points to QBs through the first 3 weeks. I think that continues, and I just don't see how you get away. If you're going to use Travis Boyd, look, his production's dependent on one other guy, and that's Joe Burrow. So might as well double down on the points. If they score a touchdown, you're looking at 1.5 for Boyd and 1 for Burrow. So it's a must do in my opinion.
All right, how about you, Kenny? Joe Burrow seems like the obvious choice.
Yeah, no, it's not. It's the Bengals defense at $5,600. This is what you want to do here. You want to play the Bengals D with the high-priced Bengals receivers and running backs and quarterbacks. I think that this is going to be a pretty dominant night. When you look at last week, 4 sacks, 2 picks against Pittsburgh. I actually don't think that they're as bad as people say they are right now. I think that that's a decent team. And the fact that they just absolutely got obliterated by this Bengals defense, I think says a lot. Now you look at the Jaguars, 3 giveaways per game. That is dead last in football and giveaway, or turnover rate ratio, by the way. So, yeah, I think that the Jaguars have another terrible night here. Sorry, Emerson. I think
okay.
Trevor Lawrence, the flea flicker interception last night was the icing on the cake.
Yeah.
And I think that perhaps you get a big night here for the Bengals and not a lot of points from the Jaguars.
He's had some really ugly interceptions. Now, half of them have not been his fault. I'll give him that. I'm not making an excuse. But that one on the flea flicker last Sunday was his worst by far, Kenny. I will agree with you for once on that. AJ, a lot of mid to high price wide receivers. Maybe like one you haven't mentioned already. Do you have a favorite one?
Yeah, I actually like Chenault at 6,600 here. He's a player that, his targets have declined in each of the 3 weeks, and last season was a low of just 4. But he remains the third most targeted player on the Jags. He comes in at just 6,600, so it's not going to break the bank for you, and has been getting opportunities. So TDs haven't been there. It's definitely, more GPP than cash game play, absolutely. But at that price range, I think he's worth consideration.
All right, Kenny, how about you, dude?
Yeah, I'm kind of stunned. I didn't think that I was going to hear a LaVisca Chenault call, but I did. And I did want to talk about him because, look, I do think that he's the best, maybe the best receiver on the board here. Look, he's a guy that competes for the ball, very, very good at catching in traffic. But the biggest reason I like him is because he should be seeing a lot of coverage from Eli Apple, one of PFF's worst quarterbacks in football this year. And he's on like his 5th team now. But any way you slice it, all these guys in the secondary for the Jaguars, or for the Bengals rather, are not very good. So although I do like this defense and they have, managed to get some picks, I think that Chenault is certainly a guy I'd look at here in a pretty soft matchup with Eli Apple to have a nice game.
Yeah, he's still waiting to score his first touchdown this season. Meanwhile, you got Marvin Jones and DJ Chark, who have already scored twice. Jeff, what about you, dude?
I like the Chenault call. I do. He's the cheapest Jacksonville receiver. He could have the softest matchup. I'm going way cheaper than this, though. I'm going down to $400. Auden Tate played over 50% of the snaps last week. Once T. Higgins went out, T. Higgins ruled out in this game. Mike Thomas, not the real Mike Thomas, the other Mike Thomas, and Auden Tate going to be mixed in. But Auden Tate is the guy who saw the snaps. And I think, again, you've just got, these guys pop up in showdown, using Auden Tate at $400 is going to give you so much room to do whatever you want with the rest of the studs in this game. I really like this play just because of the fact that, if this guy finds the end zone, you have a massive edge. Even if he doesn't find the end zone, you still might have the massive edge because of the salary flexibility. Let's get a couple targets. Let's go Auden Tate. I think we can do this, folks. I think we're going to get there.
We'll get you guys out of here with your best value play. Need you to be quick on this one, Kenny. We're running tight on time.
Yeah, I thought we were going to do this now and not before, Jeff. Auden Tate, $400, absolutely. Carlos Hyde, $1,800 as well. I kind of like him. Played a lot of snaps last week and got a lot of carries. Eight carries on 23 snaps.
Awesome. Jeff?
Yeah, look, obviously I just brought up a $400 receiver, Auden Tate, so we can go with that. I think CJ Azuma at $4,000, also good value, though.
All right, AJ, bring us home, dude.
I thought I was going to have the cheapest off the board play here, but I'll go Jacob Hollister for $1,000. Targeted 6 times, including once in the red zone, 2 catches for 15 yards. I know they brought in another tight end on the weekend, but I think he'll still be the primary option when you have just a week of practice for Dan Arnold.
Awesome, dude. Thank you so much, guys. You three are free to go. We'll take a sports book look, some of the best bets on this Thursday night football matchup between Jacksonville and Cincinnati coming up. But we still have some price checking to do around the diamond right after this quick break. All right, everybody, we still have Thursday Night Football best bets coming up. Also, Julian Edlow is on the menu today. I forgot to tag him in my tweet. Oops. He'll be talking college football best bets. But right now, let's take one more trip around the diamond. We got some DFS plays, some of the best ones. We're going to price check some salaries for you with DraftKings contributor Nick Fryer. RotoWire's Paul Bruno is here. So hook me up, guys, with your favorite DFS plays and each of the following price ranges. We'll start with a pitcher more than $8,000. Nick, who's your dude?
So I like Robbie Ray tonight, of course, but he's the highest priced guy going up against the Yankees, right? So they got a lot to play for. And then I like Shane Bieber, too, going up against Kansas City with possibly no Salvador Perez in that lineup. But I ultimately landed on Ian Anderson because Robbie Ray, the highest priced guy, I don't want to go with that. And Shane Bieber, we don't know what his innings are necessarily going to look like either. Now, when you look at who Anderson's facing tonight, he's going up against the Phillies, and they're not exactly striking out a ton, but there's a significant difference between them and the Royals. That's a lineup, even if you take out Salvador Perez. They don't strike out a lot. When you look at Anderson, he's had 7+ strikeouts in each of his last 3 starts. I know he's had a couple of rough outings this month, but he's done well against Philadelphia all season long. 2 quality starts mixed in there and 1 strong 5-inning start. And then there's 1 hiccup, but that's going to happen every once in a while. And then you look at the Phillies, they're in general, they're not a top 10 team against right-handed pitching. I understand the strikeouts aren't there, but the power, run production, everything, they're not a top 10 team against right-handed pitching, despite what Bryce Harper has done all this month. He's been on a tear, right? So that says a lot to me that there's just not as much there behind Bryce Harper.
All right, Paul, you got 9 games on the main slate tonight. You have 8 pitchers north of $8K. Who's your dude?
Hey, for me, there's a big temptation to head to the top of the board for Robbie Ray, of course, with the season he's had. Insert Cy Young reference here, I'll say. He is averaging over 27 DraftKings points per game in his last 10 starts and over 23 all year long. Oddly, he's only faced the Yanks twice this season and not in the last 3 months. So I expect them to be patient and hope to run up his pitch count to have a big chance against him. And by the way, Corey Kluber's on the mound for the Yankees on a nice run of his own with a whip of 116 and opposing batting average 219. So I expect this game to be tight and decided late, maybe too late for either of these guys to be in on this decision. There are a few other name recognition types who will similarly draw attention in this range, but I don't like their matchups either. Instead, I'm looking at Minnesota's young Joe Ryan to continue his glittering debut with a 5th straight dominant start at the major league level. This guy's minor league totals are nuts. You got to have a look at them. Just unbelievable. They're video game worthy. He's continued that in a small MLB sample so far with 25-3 is the strikeout to walk ratio and only 10 hits allowed in 22 innings pitched. He faces a Tiger offense that's not done much in their last 10 games. And they rank near the bottom third in many mid-season long offensive stats categories as well. So I'll take Ryan in there for $9,300.
Okay, let's go under $8,000, Paul. Who was your pitcher in that department?
I find this an interesting range tonight, Emerson. In the bottom tier, I find 2 veterans with similar profiles and opportunities against overmatched opponents this evening. First, there's the Mets' Rich Hill, priced at $7,000. He's produced a string of quality or near quality starts in his last 10 outings, allowing 3 runs or less in each of them, though he hasn't gone long enough in a few of them to qualify as quality starts by definition. He has averaged a strikeout per inning in his last 48 innings, too, and he faces a Miami team that's is second in the majors in strikeouts, I should say, and in the 3rd from the bottom of the heap in OPS in the majors as well, season long. The other guy I like in this range, also priced at $7,000, is Nick Pavetta, a veteran who only has to find a way to hang around for 5 innings, get his 5 to 7 strikeouts, and receipt for the high win probability that he looks at tonight in a mismatch against Baltimore. I say this because he faces a free-swinging O's lineup that whiffs a lot. Further to that, the O's starter Alex Wells has been rocked to the tune of a 7.61 ERA, 175 whip, and a 318 opposing batting average in his last 10 starts as well.
Nick, pitcher under $8,000.
Paul and I are in lockstep on this one, and if I'm going to pick between the 2 guys, Rich Hill and Nick Pavetta, at the same price, $7K, I'm going to go with Rich Hill against the Marlins. Miami has been horrible against left-handed pitching this month. I know Paul was highlighting the entire season outlook, but when you just look at September, they are last in OPS, WOBA, WRC plus against left-handed pitching this month, and then they're bottom 5 in ISO against left-handed pitching, and they have the highest K rate against left-handed pitching in September. He had 8 Ks against Miami earlier in the month. I know they rocked him at the beginning of the season, but since Hill has gone to the Mets, he's been much better against Miami in his 2 starts against them.
Nick, hitter over $4,000.
Yeah, so I'm going to go back to the Baltimore Red Sox game, and I know that somebody else earlier on the show took a Red Sox outfielder. I don't remember if it was Steve, maybe, whatever. But I don't want to agree with Steve. I never liked doing anything.
It was Steve, dude. Yep.
It was. Well, he took Hunter Renfroe, and I think he was 4.9K. I'm going to go with JD Martinez instead at 4.8K, and I know he had a big night last night, so Maybe he can replicate that. He's going up against a guy like Alexander Wells, who has been terrible against right-handed pitching. You look at what he's done, in his short season, he's got a 7.55 FIP against right-handed batters. And then his opponents, Woba against him too, right-handed hitters, 413. Martinez has had a good month, 4 home runs, 6 doubles, 15 RBIs. And I know he hits right-handed pitching a little bit better than left-handed pitching, but the numbers are pretty similar. So either way, when he gets to that bullpen too, he should be able to find success there.
Okay, Paul, how about you, dude? Who's the hitter over $4,000 you like?
I'm going to even admit, full. There's a couple of guys in the early games. The Cardinals in this range are going to get a lot of attention for what they've done recently. Hot hitting streaks against the Brewers veteran lefty is also something that helps me make the case for Paul Goldschmidt. He's front and center in the club, 17-game heater. This big bopper has a 1.248 OPS in his last 2 weeks, punctuated by 5 homers and 10 extra base knocks. He's one of my favorite players of baseball, can you tell? While Nolan Arenado, his running mate, is right there as well with his own set of crooked numbers in that stretch. They both own a lot of success against Anderson in head-to-head samples of over 20 plate appearances. I'll take them both in the early slated games for $4,900 each. In the later tilts, I like Freddie Freeman with a platoon edge against Kyle Gibson. It's the story I lean on with a hot power bet against a pitcher who's struggling of late. Freeman is second to Vlad Guerrero with a $5,600 price tag near the top of the board. And finally, I like Xander Bogaerts, the centerpiece of the Red Sox offense. I planned Pandio's starter earlier tonight, so I expect Bogaerts to be right in the middle of the scoring parade that I expect here for Boston. I see him as a standout in the 4,000 plus range and think he returns value at his $5,500 tag tonight. Pair him with JD Martinez, who's been talked about, priced at $4,800, as he's a power guy in the midst of his own recent hot streak as well.
All right, we'll wrap it up with this. Hitter under $4,000, Paul.
I'll be stacking Red Sox power bats. No surprise, as implied with my last answer. So I'll throw Bobby Dahl back into the mix with his $3,600 price tag to bring down my average cost. More hunting for the hot hitter against cold pitcher matchups brings me to the Braves' Eddie Rosario, who's had a .957 OPS in his last 10 games. He costs only $3,400 and faces a struggling version of Kyle Gibson this evening. Finally, Javier Baez enters play on a 13-game hit streak and will face a rookie pitcher, Edward Cabrera, who has looked overmatched in his first 6 starts of his MLB career. That's well worth the $4,000 price tag on Baez this evening.
Nick, what about you, dude?
I'm going to go all the way under 3K at 2.9K. As much as I love Mad Bum, I do like picking on him this year when I can. And when I got Wilmer Flores going up against him tonight, I'm going to do that. He gives you a little flexibility, first base, third base. You can stick him at either spot. And I know he hasn't had a ton of power this month. And I know I normally don't cite batting average as a stat that we want to look towards. But he's got a 400 average this month. And his power numbers on the season are slightly better against left-handed pitching. You look at what he's done against Mad Bum in his career. Only 25 at-bats, but still he's got 3 doubles and a home run against him. And it's just Mad Bum, it's a little bit later on in the season. And I have no problem also targeting Arizona's bullpen in the course of things.
Gentlemen, thank you so much. That's it for baseball in this show. Coming up right after this break, the best bets available in the DraftKings Sportsbook for tonight, Thursday night football clash between the Jags and Bengals. All right, everybody, back once again. We're talking some Thursday night football, but this time we're on the DraftKings Sportsbook. And here to help us with some of the best bets. Oh, this game's going to be epic. DraftKings contributors Pierce Dietrich, Reed T. Fowler, Matt Meiselman. All right, guys, let's get after it. Best bets, favorite bets on the DK Sportsbook for tonight's Jacksonville and Cincinnati game. So, Jags, 0-3 ATS. Any chance they go on the road and cover the 7.5 points in Cincy, Reed?
No, they don't. Look, like Cincinnati is not the best team when it comes to like covering, especially when you take a historical point of view from it. But the Jags right now, where the key matchups are, one is going to be this defensive line for Jacksonville and offensive line for Cincinnati. And what I mean by key matchup is that these are some of the worst offensive and defensive lines in the NFL. Like the PFF grade for Jacksonville's D line is dead last, and Cincinnati's is 28th for their offensive line. So when they cancel each other out, then you go to the secondary and these pass catchers, and I think it's just going to be a lot of Tyler Boyd, a lot of Jamar Chase, and a lot of Joe Mixon. So I don't think they can. Sorry, Emerson.
Maddie, I know you think they can.
I think they can. I honestly, I think this line is fair. Like, I don't really have a strong take either way. So if I had to lean, it probably is towards the Jaguars. I think this line probably should be 7, if anything, not 7.5. But I'm not going to give a bold take yet. I'll save that for some of the later questions. I just think that they have a shot. Clearly, Jacksonville has been terrible so far. The Bengals have played well. I think Cincy might just be slightly overvalued. And Trevor Lawrence was a high pick for a reason. I think at some point he gets it together. Maybe it's not tonight. Maybe it is. But I do think they have a shot to cover.
Wait, Matt, but on a short week, Trevor Lawrence has the most turnover-worthy plays in the NFL.
Yeah!
It's 7.5 points, though. That's a lot of points.
Like, yeah, for the other team.
Yeah, maybe.
Listen,
I get why.
I'm
Look,
just giving him a shot.
He's a solid prospect, but like not right now. I think, like we talked about yesterday, Emerson, he's getting his licks right now, and that's good. That's good. I think he's going to be a solid quarterback for years to come, but just not tonight.
Well, okay. The loss of Bates and Higgins shouldn't be overlooked. Let's just keep that in mind, everybody. All right.
Josh Lambo.
Both teams, I know, dude. Yeah, he's not going to be kicking tonight. So if you have him on your season long, everybody, you may want to drop him. Both teams have only gone over once so far this year. I mean, the Jags, I think, are averaging. We talked about it yesterday, Reed. The Jags are averaging around 18 points a game, which matches the 18 losses in a row for this franchise, dating back to last season. Are we going over 46 points tonight, Fowler?
Yeah, so this is where Matt's take I agree with, where there's going to be a lot of points. Where a lot of points in the sense of hitting the over here. I do have the value on the over. I do think that when you have Jacksonville and their inability to keep the ball safe, right, and not turn it over, that's going to give you a lot of ability on the Cincinnati side to maybe get a defensive touchdown. I know Kenny was alluding to it earlier that he likes a Cincinnati DST. I don't mind that call at all. And the Jacksonville Jaguars are the fastest team in the NFL in pace. Cincinnati's one of the slowest, but because Jacksonville is trying to catch up, which I think is going to happen tonight, I do think this goes over. We've seen these primetime games, especially on Thursday, hit the overs quite a bit in the last few games.
Pierce, welcome back. We're talking over-under. What do you think here? The offensively challenged Jaguars going to be leaning on that passing game probably quite a bit.
Yeah, I'm going to go with the under in this game. Cincinnati's got the flashy weapons, but I really like Cincinnati's defensive line, what they did last week. They only blitzed Big Ben 8 times, and they still got 4 sacks. That's well below the average of blitzes that we see from teams. And, ultimately, Joe Burrow looks good. He's had 2 really good games and 1 really bad game, but even in the 2 games that he's had, it hasn't really translated into a lot of points. And then for the Jacksonville side, they're good for 2 drives a game, so I'll take the under.
Matt, these aren't high-scoring teams, and Cincinnati's defense is playing well right now.
Yeah, I'm going to lean a little more towards Reed than Pierce, though, just because I do think this could be a high-variance game where some turnovers create points. Like, I don't think the offenses will be that good, but we could have – I mean, Joe Burrow has been mistake-prone in his career also, so it's not like he can't have some turnovers either. So it's kind of just going to depend where on the field those turnovers happen, because I think we will see a couple. But it's really just a lean towards the over. Like, I think the number around 46 is about right here too. Like, I think odds makers have just done really well with this game, even though it is a high variance spot. So I don't have a strong opinion here, but I do think that there's at least some chance for kind of a high scoring game.
Well, who's getting in the end zone, Pierce? Who is someone you like their odds to score a touchdown tonight?
Reed already mentioned this. Bengals plus 2,500 to get a touchdown in this game. You've got a great pass rush. You've got a quarterback that's making a lot of mistakes. Trevor Lawrence leads the league in bad passes. He's also holding the ball too long. We saw a pick 6 last week, so we could see another one of those bad passes under duress with the Bengals pass rush on top of him. We'd also see him holding the ball too long, getting a strip for a touchdown. I love the odds of Bengals getting a touchdown in this.
All right, what about you, Matt?
So I'm giving the boring pick here because he's the largest favorite to score a touchdown of this game. But Joe Mixon minus 165, I think that number is still too low. The Bengals have been running a ton. This is probably a game where they have a lead, even though I think the Jaguars could cover. It most likely would come from a backdoor cover anyway. But I think the Bengals will run the ball for most of the game like they've been doing in the red zone. I'm sure they will also. And I just think this number should be higher. Mixon has just been dominating in terms of workload. He's coming off not such a great game against the Steelers where they didn't need him as much. But I think Mixon at minus 165, that number should be more like minus 200. So I don't like much from this game, but I do like this as kind of a value spot.
Yeah, he's the only player or group on the DraftKings Sportsbook in this game tonight that is not giving you plus money. Reed, what about you, dude?
Yeah, how is Trevor Lawrence the same odds for first-time touchdown as the Cincinnati defense?
Yeah.
That's unbelievable. Yeah, like the Cincinnati first touchdown is plus 2,500. It's also that for Trevor Lawrence, but I'm going Tyler Boyd at plus 130 for an anytime touchdown. You know, without T. Higgins in the field, I know Jeff mentioned some guys at the lower end when you're looking at showdown, but Tyler Boyd should have his way tonight. He's going to be on Chris Clay. I think it's Claybrooks, and look. Claybrooks has not been great. 11 targets, 10 receptions. That's what he's given up. And he's got a passer rating when targeted 118, and he's given up 14.8 yards per catch. So I do think Tyler Boyd, like any Tyler Boyd prop that you want, the receptions, the yards, I'm all bullish on Tyler Boyd. So any prop that you want from him, including this touchdown one, I like it.
Let's go slate-approved pick here. Give me your favorite bet tonight, Matt.
This is a little bit of a cop-out because the bet starts tonight, but it's not exactly for this game. I like the Bengals to go over their season win total. The current number that we have now at 7.5. It's plus 110 on the over, and I think that odds makers are a little confused by the Bengals' schedule. So if you look towards the end of the season, they're going to have to play the Niners, they're going to have to play the Broncos, the Ravens, the Chiefs, the Browns. But before that, they're getting the Jaguars tonight, they get the Lions, they get the Jets. So I think overall they have an average remaining schedule. They're 2-1 to start the year, so you only need to go 6-8 the rest of the way to hit this over. And I think the Bengals are roughly an average team, so it shouldn't be that hard for them to get there. I think this win total should be around 9 wins or so, and being able to get a win on the bet at 8, I like that more than anything in the game. I know we're trying to give picks for just tonight, but this one you do have to make tonight before the line changes. So, I'm going here before I go to any of the bets that are on the board for this game specifically.
Okay, Reed, any bets on the board for tonight specifically that stand out to you?
Yeah, you got to make sure you hit that before that stretch of games, though, Matt. Like, if you're like down one game or if you're tied, right? Like, you got, like that end of schedule is rough. But like I mentioned, Tyler Boyd over 5.5 receptions at minus 110. Clay Brooks, like I laid out his stats on the defensive side, and also too, I hit this one last week with the rushing prop for the quarterbacks. Burrow's over 8.5 yards. He rushed 5 times last week against Pittsburgh. I don't know if he's going to have to, but this is like 2 attempts, and maybe he has to like get out of the pocket. So 8.5 yards at minus 120. I think the over is definitely in play.
All right, Pierce, bring us home your favorite bet tonight.
Let's get weird. I'm going to give the people a real sweat tonight. Cincinnati plus 270 to punt more than the Jacksonville Jaguars. Jacksonville has punted the ball 5.3 times per game. That's the second most. But Cincinnati's not too far behind with a 4.7 punt per game rate. And just think how this plays out. I know it might sound counterintuitive, but I think that Jacksonville's going to be playing from behind. They're going to be aggressive. As we mentioned, they can be turnover prone in these games, and it means less punts. And then Cincinnati with the lead at home, conservative, probably going to punt the ball more and not push the issue. So you want a real sweat, Bengals, plus 270 to punt more.
Gentlemen, Yes, wow is right. Thank you so much for your help, everyone, and enjoy the game tonight. Make sure you keep an eye on DraftKings and the DraftKings Sportsbook on Twitter because we'll have our Royal Report presented by Crown Royal. Coming up next, we got some college football bets. Julian Edlow will join us right after this. All right, let's get right after it. We're going to shift gears to college football. DraftKings contributor Julian Edlow is here for some of his college football best bets for Week 5. Your favorite sportsbook plays in college football. So hook me up here. Top 10 matchup, Arkansas visiting Georgia. Georgia's favored by double digits, over under 48. What bet do you like in this game, Jules?
Yeah, Arkansas shockingly good so far this season, yet still a massive underdog in this top 10 matchup at Georgia. For me, it's about the defense. Arkansas has been really good defensively, held Texas A&M to 10 points in that showdown last week, and Georgia just doesn't let people score. Clemson got a field goal against them. I think they've held every team under their team total so far this season. So for me, I got this one at under 49 earlier in the week. I think it's fine at 48. It's probably fine down to 47 for me, 47 and a half. So I like the under in this game. I also like the Arkansas team total under. I think they're going to be lucky to get more than a touchdown in this game.
All right, dude. Well, another big conference matchup. So Michigan is it good now? A ranked underdog visiting Wisconsin. Wisconsin just got smoked by Notre Dame. Who do you like in this one?
Yeah, this is one of the biggest trap lines of the season. Like, Wisconsin stinks. They lost at home to Penn State as a favorite. They got blown up to almost a touchdown favorite neutral field game in Chicago against Notre Dame, and had that game in hand and then gave it away. Lost to Notre Dame, an overvalued Notre Dame team, I would say. Graham Mertz, the highest ranked Wisconsin quarterback ever, is not good. He keeps throwing all these interceptions, pick sixes to blow that score up against Notre Dame. I'm not saying I'm going to bet Michigan. Like, Wisconsin is this line stinks. Wisconsin's the side. Why is Wisconsin favored here? I have no idea. If this gets to 3, I might just have to take the field goal with Michigan, who's looked so much better here. But I just wanted to highlight that this is the trap game of the week for sure.
Well, speaking of the Irish here, dude, we have a second top 10 matchup. So it's Cincinnati visiting South Bend. South Bend, the Irish are the home underdog. We're talking just 1.5 points. Do you like Cincy to get a big road win here?
I do. I like Cincinnati money line here. If you look ahead on the schedule, Cincy's probably going to run the table after this game, win or lose, especially with, in that conference, your beloved UCF squad losing their quarterback there.
Yep.
So this is a spot. Notre Dame's been getting by, but I really don't think they're a very good team. This is Cincinnati's Super Bowl. If they win this game, they can realistically go 13-0 and make the committee have to make a decision on putting them in. They've done everything that they're supposed to do. So I really believe that Cincinnati is a good veteran team. They've had these guys for a long time, winning games in previous years. I think they can go into Notre Dame and win this game and capitalize on an undefeated season and leave it in the hands of the committee to see if they can get in.
All right, well, let's talk top 15. Ole Miss going on the road, going to face number 1, the big dog, Alabama, who is favored by 2 touchdowns. Game total is 80 freaking points. Who or what do you like here?
Yeah, serious shootout here in the SEC, right? 80 points. I don't know what to do with the total. That if they can get there, that is that's impressive. But Ole Miss is good. I have a rule. I don't bet against Alabama. If there's a week to do it, getting the 14.5, specifically the 14.5. Ole Miss can keep Matt Corral is a really good quarterback. I wouldn't be surprised. I think DK Sportsbook has him at plus 1,000 to be the number 1 overall pick. I don't mind that. I don't bet against Bama, but if I bet this game, you got to take the 14.5 with Ole Miss. They're a good team. They'll keep it within 2 touchdowns.
All right, dude. That is all the time we have. I'm ecstatic that you were able to join us for the last few minutes of this show. We got our.
I really like your shirt, bro.
Hey, thanks, dude. I appreciate it. You know, it was the call to the bullpen today. I wasn't supposed to host. This was at the top of the laundry pile. That's why it's kind of wrinkled. Whatever, dude. Tomatoes, potatoes. So we're going to have Madden. A Madden slate kicks off here at noon, and then at 5 o'clock, Adam Coppin and Reed T. Fowler with a Thursday edition of the slate. So I'll see everybody back here tomorrow morning.